Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 starts just a few hours after killing General Shepard. Captain Price and Nikolai evacuate wounded Mactavish to a safe house in India. Soap receives medical help. Meanwhile, there is still a war going on between the USA and Russia on our American soil. During the Battle of New York, Delta Force units are ordered to destroy the tower, with Russian jamming devices located on the top of the stock exchange. Their vehicle gets hit on the way to the building, so they have to fight their way through the streets to reach the target. They use the buildings to flank Wall Street. Once they get inside, it gets even better. I mean, a battle in a main stock market room with all the monitors, with charts you know from movies, and now it's a freaking battlefield. And it's like 15 minutes of gameplay. That is so good. They progress to the roof and blow up the devices and hoop on a Black Hawk to continue the mission in the harbor to assist SEALs in destroying enemy warships. With the guiding system back online, the Air Force strikes on the enemy positions and pushes them back to the harbor. Now HQ orders Delta to steal one of Russian vessels and turn their weapons against their own fleet. They link up with the SEALs and approach the vessel undetected. They get inside and take over the bridge. With the help of HQ, they are able to hack into the console and begin to assault the Russian fleet. Then, quickly evacuate on a motorboat, avoiding the missiles and enemies until they reach a chopper. Russians are disengaging and US forces begin the counteroffensive. Meanwhile, Nikolai is fighting to save Soap's life, while Makarov men are approaching the safe house. Enters Yuri, an ex-Specnas who hates Makarov. He and Price fight arm to arm, buying the others enough time to evacuate Soap to the chopper on the roof. But since they are outnumbered, Price and Yuri decide to hit the streets and get to the weapon cache. Price finds a remotely controlled armed vehicle and Yuri takes the wheel. He clears the path for them to get to the helicopter and extract. Though at one point Yuri is blown away by an explosion and falls into the water, they manage to find him and pick him up. Almost 2 months later, Russian President Vorshevsky announces plans to make peace with the United States at a summit in Hamburg, Germany. During the flight, several men who are loyal to Makarov sabotage the plane. Shootout begins and the plane starts falling down and falls apart while the federal agents are fighting the terrorists. It feels like it's a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible scene. I mean, just look how cool this mission is. After the plane hits the ground, they try to secure the president and his daughter on a crash site. They find them, but they are only able to escort Alina Vorshevsky, president's daughter, out of danger. While they try to get Vorshevsky himself into the helicopter, it turns out Makarov himself is inside. He kills agents and kidnaps the president. Price and Yuri figure out to start searching for the president in Sierra Leone, where Makarov has been hiring local paramilitary groups to move shipments to Morocco and Spain. Price, Soap, Nikolai, and Yuri infiltrate a PRF-occupied village where the cargo is supposedly stored, only to find an empty warehouse. The three push their way to a church in the center of town, but are too late to prevent the cargo from being whisked away. Coming across a shipping manifest, Price learns that there are 3 packages being distributed across Europe, bound for Paris, Berlin, and London. Price covertly informs his former mentor, Captain Macmillan, currently baseplate of the SAS, of his findings. Meanwhile, a French satellite discovers a possible security threat in London, which prompts them to contact MI6. A British SAE's team led by Sergeant Walcroft is then deployed to prevent the use of one of the chemical weapons in London. When the building is silently cleared, they begin a full assault into the docks. They are after the trucks, believing one of them is shipping the weapons for the planned attack. Soon it turns out they are empty, so the team follows hostiles into the tube system. They follow the subway train with the car in an epic underground chase that leads to a train crash. Burns and Baseplate are okay. They reach Westminster Station, where they believe more enemy trucks are heading, and it looks like it is the target of a planned attack. They get on the surface and join the police blockade waiting for the trucks to arrive. One of them shows up, but it was just a decoy to turn their attention from the real targets. We see footage from a civilian camera that records one of the trucks blowing up with chemicals near Big Ben. Soon it turns out the same attacks happened in other big European cities: Berlin, Madrid, Rome, Warsaw. Meanwhile, Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany is attacked by Russian ground forces, but it turns out that reports from Paris, Warsaw and other European cities state that Russians are performing a full invasion on Eastern Europe. It also turns out that the US Vice President is in Germany and he needs to be rescued quickly. Enter Delta. The city is a huge battlefield on the ground and in the air. Delta lands right in the middle of it. They clear the path for the tanks, then Frost takes the minigun position on one of them, and everything is going well until they collapse into an underground parking and have to progress on foot. They reach a convoy with the vice president, but it turns out it was abandoned. They go to the nearby building and manage to rescue the president. Price gets in touch with Mac. He tells him to go to Somalia and look for Warabe. Team Metal storms his stronghold and defeats the local thugs. They capture Warabe, who tells them to look for a guy named Volk in Paris. Unlucky, while they try to fly away, a heavy sandstorm hits the coast and their chopper crashes. They begin to search for Nikolai, fighting with the remaining local forces under the sandstorm. I feel like this is a reference to the Black Hawk Down movie and a real-life military operation in Somalia. Anyways, they reach Nikolai, who is pinned down on the crash site, and manage to escape from the city using a jeep. Price connects with Sandman and intels him about Volk, who is using Fregata Industries to distribute the WMD. Turns out French Special Forces GIGN located Volk, but they are pinned down by enemies. Frost and Delta are on their way to help them. Paris, right? That means another epic location with the Eiffel Tower in the background. Delta fights their way through the heart of Paris to reach GIGN and manage to help them in their struggle. Then they combine forces and go down to the catacombs. They find Volk there, but he manages to escape and get into the car. Delta chases him down through the streets while being attacked by tanks and armed vehicles. They manage to shoot the tires in Volk's car and it crushes, and they manage to capture him. Still, they need to get to the extraction point and bring Volk alive for the interrogation. AC-130 pilot tries to cover them from the air, but soon it's forced to retreat by Russians. While crossing the bridge protected by tanks, they run out of ammo and request a bomb run from Odin. This levels everything in the area into the ground, including the Eiffel Tower. But they have no other option to extract Volk. Volk reveals everything he knows. Makarov is meeting with his advisors in the center of Prague. Turns out Price is close enough to take a chance. His team enters the city center through sewers and sneaks to a meeting point with Makarov. They take their positions, and when the meeting starts, Price is covered by Yuri on sniping positions attacks, but turns out Makarov took Komarov as a hostage. He has a bomb attached and it explodes, tearing the whole floor apart. Also, the building where Yuri and Soap exploded just a few seconds later. Looks like, again, Makarov was one step ahead of them. He calls Yuri friend through the radio, and that might suggest he is a traitor. Soap hears that, but when the bomb explodes, they fall down, and when Price reaches them, Soap is unconscious, but Yuri is the one who picks Soap and helps him to escape. They reach a safe house, but Soap lost too much blood. In his last words, he tells Price that Makarov knows Yuri. Captain punches Yuri and then asks questions. Yuri tells the story of when he was young and patriotic. He met Makarov working for Zakhaev. Turns out he was there in Pripyat. When Price tried to kill Zakhaev, they were the ones who saved his life. In 2011, when Makarov ordered the dropping of the bomb in the Middle East, Yuri understood that he might be on the wrong side. Later, when Makarov found out Yuri tried to warn authorities about the airport attack, he shot him right before his men performed the attack on the Moscow airport. Yuri survived and crawled out of there and was rescued. Price decides he believes that story. Price talks to Mac, and they both have intel pointing out to an old castle near Prague. Makarov is probably stashing his weapons there for years, and at the moment this might be his safe house. Price and Yuri infiltrate the place, but Makarov is not there. They only learn that President Vorchevsky is kept hostage by Makarov, and information that his daughter is kept in Berlin, and Makarov is after her. Price and Yuri destroy the base and relay intelligence to Team Metal. They head to Berlin to reach the safe house, and the president's daughter both turns out. They arrive too late, and the girl is already flying away on a helicopter. Team Metal tells Price of their failure to rescue the daughter and that they took her to a diamond mine in Siberia, where her father, the president, is also located. Both Task Force 141 and Team Metal set out a joint rescue operation to save them. The strike is successful and they find the president's daughter. Alena is not in her top shape. They call for extraction and try to find Vorchevsky. He is held behind a steel door, so they decide to blow up the floor, and that works. Now they get the president, but that's only half of the way, since they need to escort him to the extraction point, and now the whole place acts like a hornet's nest that got hit with a baseball bat. Sandman and a few other members of the squad sacrifice their lives to get Vorchevsky on that chopper and cover the takeoff. News reports that since Vorchevsky returned to Moscow, the peace talks are about to begin. Soon they result in ending the war. But Price still is after Makarov. He located him in Dubai 3 months later. Now they got this juggernaut armor that basically gives them a god mode. This mission is like the opposite of the airport mission in Modern Warfare 2. They just slowly walk through Makarov men like a hot knife through butter. Maybe they should take the stairs. It would take like 3 days in those armors, but using a glass elevator exposes them on a helicopter attack and puts those fancy armors on fire, so god mode off. More bad news? They have 4 minutes before Makarov gets on his chopper. They spot Makarov running up to the roof of the building, but are being fired at by rockets from another helicopter. The rockets cause the atrium to collapse. Price narrowly escapes falling to his death, but Yuri has been impaled by a piece of debris from the explosion, and he tells Price to go on without him and stop Makarov as he tries to pull the metal rod out of his abdomen. As Price runs to the roof, he manages to jump onto Makarov's helicopter. He punches one of the pilots and pulls him out. The co-pilot tries to shoot him with a pistol, but Price dodges it, shooting the helicopter instead. Price stabs the co-pilot in the throat. Then he manages to divert the helicopter back to the roof of the hotel where it crashes. Price wakes up to see the glass about to shatter. Makarov is crawling out of the helicopter and the two of them race for a pistol they see on the floor. Makarov wins. As he is about to shoot Price, he is caught off guard by Yuri. Yes! That old bastard managed to stay alive as he shoots Makarov, but unfortunately gets killed. As Makarov gazes upon his former ally's dead body, Price uses this distraction to punch Makarov several times and wrap a loose cable around his neck. The glass finally breaks and the two fall, but Makarov is hanged by the cable around his neck. Price survives the fall and lights one last cigar in victory as he watches Makarov's hanging corpse. Police sirens are then heard outside the hotel, and that's how the game ends.